All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first community call. We'll be starting it soon. So, just a quick talk about welcome everyone that joined. So, the goal here of the community call is to uh, do an update of what's happening on the governance of the Hummingbot Foundation project. And at the end of the call, we will open up for anyone who wants to ask questions or add any other comments that you think it's relevant for the project. So for now, I'll pass to Mike. So he'll do the first session, quick introduction about the project as a whole. So it's up to you, Mike.
Okay. All right. Hey, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, all good.
Okay. Awesome. Hey, everyone. Just wanted to thank everyone for joining. This is our first community call, but going forward, we want to do this every month to basically walk through the what's happened in every release and discuss the proposals that happened, in that month. Because the foundation is going to have a monthly cadence. Every month, we're going to have a lot of proposals that the community approves via pull request proposals, governance proposals, and improvement proposals. And so every month we'll be doing this call. But the first one, we wanted to explain how the foundation works, and really to use this one as an informational session for everyone who wants to get involved and contribute to Hummingbot, our vision of an open source liquidity ecosystem. So first, just explain how this works. As some of you guys probably know, Coin Alpha, the company that originally built Hummingbot, has spun Hummingbot off essentially into a separate open source foundation. If I may ask those of you on the call, if you're not muted, to mute yourselves, please. Or if those of you from Coin Alpha, please help in muting those of you all who are for the first time. Okay. So as I mentioned, Hummingbot is really open source foundation, and the foundation's job is to grow the number of users horizontally. So at the foundation, I'm sorry, Paula, can you go back, please? Thank you. The foundation's job is to grow the ecosystem horizontally. So what that means is foundation is going to partner with exchanges to build connectors, and those connectors are maintained by individual users and the community. In addition, we're also going to try to incentivize people to create strategies as well, and we believe that will increase the number of users user base. Meanwhile, as those users, you know, like higher level needs. For example, let's say they want to run bots and earn. Let's say they want a backtesting engine that they need to use it to help them do what they do. That's where CoinAlpha is in. So CoinAlpha will continue to be a for-profit company that operates the miner platform. There's also a Hummingbot Pro backtesting engine that they have out, and overall, that there's other businesses and networks that serves the needs of both individuals and institutions that kind of graduate beyond the needs of what they can do with source. So that's really like, and this kind of framework, this paradigm exists everywhere in open source. So, for example, Linux software, which was the first one that really innovated it, and the Red Hat software became the. Similarly, in the blockchain world, we have Ethereum as the source kind of core behind Ethereum, the foundation anyway. And then, but you have a network of companies around projects around Ethereum that are kind of providing these services. And so this is, I think Coin Alpha won't be the only company in this ecosystem, but I think will be one of the supporting the foundation. Okay, next slide, please, follow. So Hummingbot today, this is just a quick recap of where we are today. So it's the leading open source framework in the industry for building crypto bots. And I think the value proposition really comes from the fact that it's integrated to as many exchanges as possible in the industry. So we really started with centralized exchanges like Binance and FTX. We now have a number of perpetual swap exchanges like Futures, Bit, and DX. And currently, we are working on standardizing for AMM dexes as well as order dexes on different blockchains. And that's really the gateway project we're working on right now in conjunction with the community. and we expect that to launch in about 2 months. So essentially, what we're really trying to do is build interfaces for these different exchanges to allow developers to add connectors to any exchange they want and have that fit into a standardized trading interface that can work with any of the Hummingbot. And on the strategy side, we've added a bunch of strategies in the last years, and I think the focus this year is really trying to incentivize the community to build more customized, which is why I think one of the key things we'll try to be working on is creating lighter strategies that simplify the strategy creation interface and then pushing those changes upstream into the foundation. And finally, we're seeing a lot of more interest from professional institutions to use Hummingbot now, from both within crypto, new firms, existing ones, but also a number of firms that are moving over to traditional finance. And the reason we believe is because the architecture of Hummingbot is simply just an open source local client. And we encourage companies to fork the code, and that allows anyone to just use however they want. And really, that's the ethos of Hummingbot. It's that it's just an open source toolbox that lets people implement any strategy they want on an exchange. Next slide, please. So because of that, because of the open source nature of the code base, what we've really built, we believe, is the largest community to make crypto industry. We have lots of folks in Discord. The miner platform for runs is really the kind of like the place that Hummingbot community goes to earn rewards from different issuers. And finally, we have lots of forks on GitHub. Really, most interesting to us is that we're really seeing lots of larger market firms run their businesses on top of us. So 3Jane, I've done a bunch of interviews with the founder Eugene on YouTube, and I think they're a great example because they're very active right now across some of the larger exchanges, and I think they've actually graduated behind Hummingbot. They're kind of running their own custom software now, but they just start with us, and they're still contributing back. Um, you mute, please. Thank you. So, and then also, we're also seeing larger firms that are just starting out, kind of like use Hummingbot, as well as some of the smaller token issuers who are just really starting to use the open source software as opposed to high market makers for liquidity. Next page, please. Next slide. So obviously, I think that this is actually showing up in the volume. So this is the heartbeat feature with Hummingbot that sends data with this anonymized and aggregated into our servers. So we track basically. So this is actually only about 1,000 bucks because per day or so, because a lot of people are kind of turning that feature off. But we do find that from like a tracking perspective, it's good. It's helpful just to get an amount of volume for on a daily basis. And so right now it's kind of averaging about. Um, we've really seen a big since we announced 1.0. And we think that's because the Binance connectors have been upgraded significantly in that release. And so I think the higher speed and the higher quality of those connectors are probably causing that. And so that's why we want to try to get maintainers for all the exchanges at Hummingbot because we believe that if there's dedicated personnel looking after naturally volume, and we want to make sure maintainers share in some of that upside. Next one. So as I mentioned, it's really the user creativity behind Hummingbot that allows it to be sustainable. Both and so the model really is that we try to enter into partnerships with different exchanges and rebate a share of fees based on user trading activity. This is tracked at the connector level using a custom API header. So after that, once we have the agreement with the exchange and the fees are shared, the foundation will share about 20% of that with a maintainer. So currently there are 4 certified maintainers that the foundation is starting off with, all of whom built Connect before. So one is Coin Alpha, like the company. One is Link, who built the DYDX and brain connectors. Sri Bandy, who built the Bitmark connector, and Holy Roger, another GitHub individual who built a number of exchange connectors as well. So we're always on the look for maintainers. I believe there'll be an application form, a process that's published on the documentation site sometime this week. But overall, we want to grow the list of maintainers, and really we really view that as ability. This is how I think community scales to every single exchange. But I think what's most interesting is that because of this partnership feature, this ability to basically try to be a central place, work with all the exchanges, and create something that everyone in the community can use through these partnerships, Hummingbot has become a self-sustainable public good, and this is really pretty unique in the crypto industry. There's actually just a blog post that Vitalik wrote about how public good funding in Ethereum is needed, but it's hard to actually kind of do it correctly. And so I think the fact that we are sustainable and if we can create incentives for the community to help maintain the community, help maintain the code base, it allows it really allows HBOT, the token, to be used purely for governance. So actually, Hummingbot Foundation, we really view this as a DAO because of the fact that the maintenance, the exchange feature agreements coming in support the ongoing operations of the foundation means that this token, we want to just give it away, give away as much as possible to Hummingbot users so that they can essentially vote and steer the Hummingbot Foundation however they want. So we when we issue the token, we decided to give the allocations to both past stakeholders, the investors from Quant Alpha who had basically funded the build out of Hummingbot for the past 4 years, the Quant Alpha Foundation team, and then but we're essentially giving 40% to the community. So the 4% was done at Genesis, and the other 36% are distributed over 4 years. So because of the sustainable nature of the foundation, I'm sorry, can someone mute please? Thank you. Mute. Thank you. So yeah, because of the sustainable nature of the foundation, we believe that that's why this token distribution is really intended to increase community participation. It's not needed for the foundation never plans to sell the token for operational purposes or issue more because the feature agreements that support the foundation today, if we continue adding changes, that should actually become a that is added to the treasury of having to use the treasury. So that's why for the distribution, there's really a few. So if you go to the next slide, about incentivizing community participation to basically. Before I get to that, I just want to mention that the goal of the Hummingbot Foundation is to allow the users to vote on pull requests. So the main thing that you can do tokens are to control which of the open pull requests should be approved. So currently there's probably about 30 or 40 base. Some of these are from Quant, a lot are from community developers who want to contribute to the code base or change certain features or those kind of things. And I think a lot of that is really now that we're open source, we're the very first thing that I think the main job for token holders is to be able to vote on these pull requests. And so one thing is how do we involve the community in helping discuss that some more. But the main thing we want to do is actually help basically help inside because that's why because of the Hummingbot distribution, we're basically giving out 9% of the supply every year for the next 4 years. So we believe that distribution will allow the foundation to be completely sustainable, but also incentivize the community to do a variety of things that basically support the foundation. One is liquidity. So we want to make sure that people are actually using the software, especially when we connect to a new exchange, and we want to incentivize people to do it for market making purposes. So that's why for liquidity, we're going to work with platforms users where they're using Hummingbot. For when we build a connector, when the foundation organizes to be built for an exchange, um, the community started a governance proposal to reward example. Another example is a miner platform. So we do need to actually distribute tokens to use the platform. Where most people using the platform are running Hummingbot is probably one of the best places for us to deliver tokens to the hands of users. Secondly, we're going to do dev grants. So things that benefit the code base that help everyone, like connectors to new decentralized exchanges, improvements to strategies and of parties like you. And also the hard, important
Um,
improvements and also making it easier for people to contribute. Those also are things. Those are the things that refactoring are the things that everyone knows is necessary, but it's kind of work that no one wants to do, and I think that's exactly the kind of work that we want to incentivize through community distribution. And then finally, number of full-time people working at the DAO level, and to increase the ability for the community to contribute in a variety of ways. So we're planning to set up a DAO to help review, but also there's also really interesting things that we want to try to basically get teams created in the community to do research on areas like NFT community, domain-specific languages, and getting with each other and to compete, as work as a team rather than as in pure competition. So overall, we're looking at the community to come up with various ways that how the tokens should. So because we want Hummingbot to be truly community owned and governed project. So is there another slide, Paulo? I think that was. I think that was. That
no,
actually might be the
yeah,
last one.
that was the last one.
Okay.
So Mike voice got a bit cut off, but let me try to explain a bit what on the last slide. Basically, the distribution that foundation will focus will be to improve and incentivize the use of the Humbot, right? So that way we're looking to platforms like Hummingbot Miner, so that we know that have a lot of Hummingbot users. And we also going to do dev grants where the goal is to improve the code base of the Hummingbot itself, right? So like connectors, strategies, any third-party integrations and things like that. And also the third area that we want to distribute the tokens to incentivize the community is to have different projects, right, that are self-organized by the community. Some of these examples are a DAO for technical review to review the pull request proposals of the codes, and some research on how we can integrate some ideas into the Humbot, like providing liquidity to NFTs, domain-specific language for creating strategies, and bot coordination between different clients. So these are the main areas that is the goal of the foundation to reward the community for their participation. Right. So just a quick talk about community calls, right? So why we are doing this and what's the plan for community calls. So the goal is that we want to hear from the community what everyone thinks, how the project's moving, any ideas and any discussions that are relevant to the improvement of not only the bot itself, but for the community as a whole. And also to allow the foundation to provide a time to go through all the updates of what's happening on the project as a whole, right? The plan is to have these community calls once every month at the beginning of the month. So as we did the voting, we will do it the first Tuesday, or today is, yeah, Tuesday of every month, so we can kind of have this cadence of updates, right? So at the end of the call, after we go through the presentation, we will also open up to everyone who wants to ask questions or emit any opinion about the project itself. If you don't want to go on stage and talk, you can also add any questions you want on the governance chat channel, and we will go through it to try to ask the best as we can, right? So let's talk a bit about the governance system, since we have been working most of January to flesh out how the governance is going to work. We run some tests with snapshots, and the final version that will start the system is going to be on what I'm calling a three-level voting system, right? Because we're going to have three types of proposal, starting with governance proposal that is going to be related to board elections, changes on the governance process itself, and how the Hummingbot treasury is going to be used and among the community, right? The other level, on the other extreme, we'll have the pull request proposal that is essentially the approval of which pull request is going to be added into the code base, right? So if you check it, last January, we had some pull request proposals created. So that's what happened to and send and okay. So we did some votings for testing, and the approved proposal is going to be merged into the next version. I'll give a bit more details on each one. And the third type, that's going to be the improvement proposal. The point here is that if a proposal is not related to governance and is not related to the approval of a pull request, then it's going to be added as an improvement proposal. It will make sense a bit more when I start to go through all of them. So why three types of proposal, right? Because from what we discussed is that we need to have different levels of sorry, we have different levels of requirements for each type of proposal because what they're going to cover. So on the one that require less resources to create proposals and approval, it's going to be the pull request because this is pretty straightforward. A developer creates a pull request and then it creates a proposal. If the community likes the pull request and wants it added to the code base, so it votes to approval, and if not, just reject it and it's not merged, right? On the other extreme, we have the governance proposals, right? Where the governance we're going to handle and needs to have a higher requirement because in this sense we are going to talk and handle about changes on the governance process and use of treasury. So that's why it's the type of proposal that we need a bigger part of the community participating into the discussion and into the voting. Right. So on the middle, where we have the improvement proposals, it's on the middle ground. So we are talking about any other type of proposal not covered by the other two. So this is kind of the middle ground where we have different type of proposal that it will make a bit more sense when I go through them, right? So a bit more details about pull request, how it works. So yeah, before I continue, everything that I'm saying here is also on the official page, right? So hummingbot.org. So everything's already there. If any you guys want to take a look a bit more deep on the details, you can also go there and check out and read the pages that we have related to go. Right now, explain a bit of pull request proposal. The basic idea here is that a developer creates a pull request targeting development branch, right? Because the thing is that development branch is going to be the one that's going to be added later into the master branch, right? So all the pull requests that are targeting the development branch, they want to be on the main version of the bot. So what happened is that after creating the pull request, the developer, or not necessarily the developer, but anyone from the community that sees a pull request into the GitHub pages can create a pull request proposal, right? So any dev create the pull request, so the foundation, the dev itself, or anyone else from the community can go into the snapshot page and uh, create the proposal. So, right. So what happens is when a pull request is created, it will have a 7-day period that will be open. So the first 4 days it will be pending. So and we the community won't be able to vote it. The plan here, the idea is that it gives time to everyone into the community to look into the pull request, understand what the pull request is about, and comment and discuss and talk with the developer that created the pull request to point out any errors, any fixes that the pull request need. Then after these 4 days, the voting will be open for 3 days. So at that point, our request, our suggestions that the developer do not change the pull request anymore, so we can have a final version of it, so the community can properly evaluate if they want to have it added to the main code base. And then we have two outcomes. So if the pull request proposal is approved, the pull request is added to the next cycle, and it will be the release of the following month. And if the pull request is rejected, the pull request is closed, and the developer who created it can rework his pull request and try again and create a new pull request proposal. Right. Um, so, if to keep track of what's the state of all the pull requests inside the GitHub page, inside the project tab, you see that this project called pull request proposal status. Inside of it, we have some columns that shows what's the state of the pull request, right? If there is a proposal created, if the proposal was approved, it was and it's under review, if it has already been merged. It's mostly to track what's the current state of each pull request related to the proposal status, right? So the pull request also gets into the development cycle, the client release development cycle that we're going to follow. This is a quick scheme of how the pull request, the process of having a pull request is going to happen. So we have the developer create the pull request. Then, if it's approved, foundation team is going to merge it into the development branch after the proposal is approved. And after we have a cutoff date. So at the end of the month, let's say all proposals that were approved until the end of January, they're going to the February release, right? And so that's basically the process. We go into the development. Then after development, we merge into the stage branch to run some final tests, see if everything is working properly. And then after these tests, everything passes. QA is good enough and sign off to the release, and then it's added to the master branch and added as an release. So the cycle that I mentioned that I was talking about is that at the end of the month we'll have a cutoff date for proposals. So as I was saying, everything that was approved at the end of January will go into the release of February. Everything that's approved until the end of February will go into the March release. So that's the cadence that we're going to work with the the future releases from now on, right? Uh, Now, so that's all I had for the pull request proposals. And for improvement proposals, so like I mentioned, is anything that's not covered by pull request proposals or governance proposals, right? So there is a few special cases here that is tied to mostly governance proposal. So we have three types of improvement proposals that needs to be tied to governance. One's not the fixed request, sorry, but we have the fixed request where the community create improvement proposal. to ask for the maintainers to prioritize bug fixes, right? So once one of these is approved, the foundation go once and assign these bug fixes in the existing maintainers, right? That's like the sorry, the connector maintainers and anyone that's available to. And the other two is related to governance proposals, is the dev grant requests. Yeah, I'll talk a bit more about them a bit in a few minutes. But basically, once we have a dev grant approved by the community, developers will create an improvement proposal requesting a participation, a participation into that dev grant, um, explaining and showing what he will be building into Hummingbot, right? And we have initiative elections. Like we mentioned, one of the goals is to incentivize community teams to create different projects and initiatives that probably need research or need more how do I say, a more fixed team that needs more focus. So we once these kind of initiatives and projects are approved, we're going to need an elections, and so the improvement proposal is going to be the the tool that will be used for these voting, right? Now, the major one, the governance proposals, right? So what happens with governance proposals is that we divide it into four main categories. That if uh, any proposal that wants, be it the foundation or anyone from the community, wants to create, okay, sorry about that, wants to create falls into one of these four categories, it must be created as a governance proposal, right? The first one is about liquidity distribution. So anything related to distributing new HBOT tokens among the community. So any new distribution needs to go through a governance proposal. So the goal and the point of this proposal is to try to maximize the probability of the anyone that's holding a HBOT token to be a Humbot user and be part of the community, and also help with must also if possible try to help with the liquidity of the markets and incentivize the new community participants joining our community, right? So one example that we have is one of the proposals that I published earlier today. So the first one, if you go into the hbot.eth into a snapshot, you will be seeing one of these proposals that's going to be distribute more HBOT tokens through 5 million HBOT tokens through the Hummingbot miner. You can see the details about it on our snapshot page, but basically our proposal is that we distribute this amount of tokens through the liquidity mining that happens into the Hummingbot miner, right? So using the same system that already exists in place, right? There's more details to it into the proposal, so this is what our main example for this category. The second category is about the dev grant budget, right? So I'll take some time here because this is going to be one of the key uh, process that we are going to run. So a dev grant budget, basically what happened is that is a proposal where um, it's going to allocate an amount from the treasury to incentivize the community to create new solutions to create improvements into the main code base of the bot, right? So the key here is that dev grants are specifically about creating improvements into the Hummingbot client code base, right? It's going to be a three-step process, so we can kind of have this flow into three phases. So what happened is that it all starts with the governance proposal, right? So the governance proposal established the budget of the dev grants and what is the type of work, what's the type of improvement that can request participation into the dev grants. After that proposal is approved, any developers can create an improvement proposal requesting a share of that grant, right? So let's say the example I'm going to show you, the first one we created is a dev grant to create new strategies, right? So once this dev is approved, any developer can create an improvement proposal explaining, okay, so I want to receive X amount of HBOT tokens from this dev grant that was approved. And for that, I'm going to build the strategy X, Y, and Z, right? And then this go into community voting, and if the community likes the idea, they will vote yes or reject it. If the developer proposal is approved by the community, he then will go into creating his pull request and effective his pull request proposal. And that also needs to go to governance, because at this point we're talking about looking into the code, reviewing the whole community check if the code matches what was proposed initially. And once this is approved, the developer will get his share of the dev grant, and the code he submitted is going to be added into the main code base. Right? So the example, as I mentioned, we just created this morning, my morning. I'm not sure what your times is for everyone else, but it's the creation and improvement of Hummingbot client strategies. So we are allocating 1 million HBOT tokens to new strategies or improvement of new ones. So any developers that want to contribute and request a share can, after the approval of this governance proposal, can go on and request the participation through the process. And again, it might be a lot of information. So if to make sure that everyone gets all the details, go into the hummingbot.org page. We have a section about governance where all these details that I'm talking here is a bit more explained there. So take your time to look into it too. The third time is going to be initiative budgets, right? So different from dev grants, initiative budgets, it's projects or something that is related to the Hummingbot ecosystem, to the Hummingbot community, but not necessarily is a direct contribution into the code, at least not at the first phase, right? So we're talking, for example, the community review team, right, where we haven't created this proposal yet, but we're still building it. But the idea of this initiative budget, for example, is that we allocate an amount of tokens for the community who wants to who wants to be actively reviewing the pull requests that are being created to to the code base, right? So in this example, this team that will be formed, probably 5 community members, would take the time to go through the submissions, the pull requests, review the code, add their impressions about the code, add the suggestions, and try to explain the submission in a way that the rest of the community that do not have that deep knowledge about code to make a better decision about how they're going to vote, right? So another examples here, we're talking about hackathons. So we could have an initiative budget to fund a hackathon. Content creation, that's going to be community created blog posts, videos, or anything related to Hummingbot, and team projects like the one I mentioned about review community review team, or development of domain specific language, right? So the difference here is that we are talking about projects that not necessarily have a direct creation in direct creation of a pull request to change the code base, right? So it's a bit more ample and covers a bit more possibilities, right? Uh, and the fourth type is governance changes, right? So any proposal that the community wants to to discuss, to propose, to make changes into the governance system itself needs also to be a governance proposal, right? So that's why that's the main reason that these four types of proposals needs to have a higher requirement to be approved, because they need our view is that they need a bigger discussion among the community, and that's why we added them as a higher requirement. So as example for this type of proposal, we created one that's going to change the minimum quorum for the approval to the percentage of circulating supply. Currently, our supply, sorry, currently the minimum quorum needed to approve the governance proposal is a percentage of the total supply. So what we discussed is that this might cause some issues with the, as we still have a pretty considerable amount of tokens to be distributed among the community. So a proposal for now is that we change this, instead of using the total supply, the minimum quorum to be a percentage of the circulating supply, right? So once every month, we will update the snapshots to match the circulating supply, and that will make it more sense, at least in our view, to have as a minimum amount of votes required to approve, right? So yeah, that's the walkthrough of the how the governance proposal itself it will work. Again, check the hummingbot.org page for more details, and also any questions that anyone have, be it it could be right now or maybe in the future. Feel free to reach us out into Discord, ask a question about one proposal or another, or of how something works. So we are around the community always to try to answer all the questions as much as possible, right? So next part, we're going to talk a bit about epochs. I'll handle up to Mike too, and so he can explain this a bit better. What's the idea of the epochs and how they're going to, right?
Okay, thanks everyone. Apologies if my audio isn't clear.
Yeah,
Uh,
it was cutting off a bit. I think it's
okay,
probably the
the
noise
internet.
suppression. No, no, not the internet.
Really?
There's a noise suppression into
Oh,
Discord.
I see.
So yeah,
Okay,
I think you
got
can
it.
deactivate it.
Okay, okay, all right. Well, we'll try to see. So, we wanted to explain the concept, and the overall this idea is that we're not going to get everything right in the very. So we want to try to improve the process for distributing the HBOT tokens and for making the foundation as community oriented and as community owned as possible. So we want to try to basically split the next 4 years. The 4 years where you distribute HBOT into 5 month periods, where each 5 month period we're going to have specific HBOT related goals across various categories that are kind of general and really it can be changed. And so that allows kind of at the end of every epoch, the foundation would conduct a retrospective, ask the community how everything went, and try to take your feedback and try to improve the process for the next. And so hopefully that allows us to ensure that we're maximizing the impact of the HBOT distributions onto the and they're achieving, I think, the end goal, which is creating a truly bazaar style open source code base that allows everyone to really get the most out of it in different ways, but also allows the developers, community developers, to basically earn a living by supporting the code base, contributing from all of that activity from everyone using. So for the first epoch, I think if you go ahead next slide, Paulo, let me explain how the first epoch run. So the first one essentially, this is really our kind of like our starter epoch. So we wanted to start a bit smaller, and so the goal we need to distribute 90 million HBOT tokens overall this year. So for the first epoch, I think we can target distributing a third of that, 30 million tokens. And so we're going to try to basically distribute 30 million tokens between February 1st, basically today, and over the next 5 months until the end of May, actually end of June. Yeah, so end of June 2022. So overall, I would say because there's some time to actually get the pull request approved and get the improvement proposal approved and the pull request proposal. Basically, the HIP cutoff for dev grants budgets related will be 31st. So that means that if you wanted to, basically say I want to do this work and get a share of this Epoch One distribution, submit that improvement proposal by the end of May. And then your pro request proposal cutoff is end of June. And so all pro requests need to be submitted. All pro request proposals should be submitted before end of June in order to get a share of this allocation. So in terms of allocation, so we kind of divided the HBOT distribution in three general categories. One is liquidity distributions, basically to incentivize users to use the software and to get the of users. So we want to try to distribute 15 million tokens across a variety of platforms. So one of them is the miner platform that there's a proposal outstanding for. But there's also other exchanges as well that Hummingbot's connected to. So we're going to try to work with those exchanges, but also some of the newer ones that I think also want to work with Hummingbot in order to get tokens into people who are using those both existing exchange connectors. In addition, for dev grants, this is a big part of it. I think that we're going to try to use it to really grow the number of community developers involved with the project, and try to fund some things that can. And finally, we want to try to do some small experiments with community initiatives in the very beginning. So just 5 initiatives, target grant budget of 5 million tokens.
Um,
Next slide, please.
yeah. Next one is we want to talk a bit about community tools.
Actually, Paulo, yeah. So,
Ah,
so actually, well, yeah, but one thing I forgot to mention about the Epoch is so one aspect of the Epoch I think you'll see on the page is some guidance in terms of how much HBOT to request when you're distribution. So currently, the HBOT token is not very liquid. And that's one because we're going to work with all the exchange partners, most likely to get an HBOT listing, kind of like liquidity distribution, the connector. So it's kind of why we haven't really really focused on at all, HBOT liquidity yet. But we are aware there's one pool that was created on Uniswap, where it's currently the token is trading a pretty low price. So that's why right now for Epoch One, our guidance is, I think we believe the developers should ask for something like 20,000 HBOT per day. In terms of like how much they should get. And really the reason came out the number is we believe that even based on the current price of the token, I believe that it's actually a decent terms of like market value for the people who are getting these tokens. But developers can request either more or amount. But the goal of that is really to just give you to know what to ask for. So we believe that as it starts trading, when it's actually on exchanges, probably sometime later on this year, then I think the value can adjust it in future epochs. But this first one, because we really have we don't have no idea what the price really like should be or current one is right or not. But we just picked 20,000 HBOT per day as like guidance for top one. Go ahead, Bolt.
okay. Right. To finalize, we want to talk a bit. I'll pass over to Carlito or Jeremy. No, not sure which one of them will speak, but talk a bit about what are the community tools, right? So how everyone can engage with the community and where are the best places to do that, right? So Carlito, Jeremy.
Hello, guys. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, all good.
All right. So, first of all, we have Discord, so everyone knows how this works. But we do have these major channels that we can use to further make conversations with one another. So, we have the hashtag general channel in which general discussions with other community members, I hear some people here like asking help from other people. So I think that's where that conversation should be. So in the support channel, any concern with regards to Hummingbot, HBOT token, so stuff like that, anything under like the Hummingbot.org umbrella, we can cover it and we will answer the questions for you. Then we have a trader chat, in which this is a space for traders to talk with each other, like give some advices. So if you have any questions with regards to trading, this is the place to go. And we do have some traders who do answer questions for other traders as well. So I think the trader chat is the most appropriate channel to ask for any trader related questions. Then we have the governance chat, in which you guys can discuss some improvements, enhancements you want to go in, and what are the PRs that we have from the community. And I guess this is the perfect place for you to ask what enhancement or what are the PRs that are going into the code base. So, and finally, we have the minor channels, in which are sorry, did was I cut out?
Yeah, yeah, it was good.
So we do have the minor support channels and the minor announcement and liquidity mining, in which these are owned by Coin Alpha and are in which you can ask the minor supports for support, in which you have payout issues, stuff like that. So Discord is generally a shared space between Coin Alpha and the Hummingbot Foundation, but like, some partners can also have their own space in the community Discord as well. So yeah, Paula.
Yep. Come.
Hello. And yes, for another community tool for our users to engage with is the Commonwealth platform. This will be our main forum for long form and long term discussions. This platform allows us to focus on certain discussions, and we can easily contain and search for related topics we are interested in. As usual, any user of the community can create any related topic. And for developers, we encourage them to create topic before submitting proposals. In this way, our community will be well aware of these proposals and be able to decide and vote intelligently. So you can get the link at this link page. All right, and then for social media, with Twitter, you will get the latest updates on Hummingbot. So we suggest that you follow to keep yourself updated. And with YouTube channel, we showcase demos, interviews, and different market making strategies. This channel is also shared with our partners like Coin Alpha. And finally, we have a Hummingbot monthly newsletter. You may subscribe using your email address. Yeah, that's all for our community tools.
Yeah. One final note, two final notes actually. One is that community calls every month we'll be uploading them to the YouTube channel, so you can tell anyone that missed it to go check what happened. And the third one is just a recommendation that be careful, as we know, all Discord community, especially those related to cryptocurrency in some way, is full of people trying to scam others. So we, as Foundation and Coin Alpha, we will never ask you to for your crypto keys, your API keys, or anything like that, right? So be sure that if someone tries to impersonate anyone, both from the foundation or Coin Alpha, so make sure that you don't send any sensitive information, right? And also give a heads up to our support, so or anyone else from the foundation, so we can remove these type of people from our Discord, right? Right. Okay. So that was what we had for the foundation presentation. And so we're going to have 15-30 minutes open for anyone that want to ask questions or say anything, any comments or anything. It's open mic, so feel free to to say anything. If you don't want to talk with the via microphone, you can add any questions or any comments on the governance chat channel. So feel free to unmute yourself and ask anything you want.
Yeah, thank you guys for the talk. And maybe if you could just go back to the slide with the amount of Hummingbot tokens being distributed for a community.
This one?
Yes, perfect. Yes, that's the one. Well, my question is are these figures absolutely set in stone, or is there a possibility to give more or less Hummingbot tokens until the end of the epoch? Like, for example, the first dev grants have been sized, I don't know, maybe too small or too big, and there's some stuff happening. Devs are developing, and it could be that there is some bigger, well, yeah, some bigger work to do or being proposed, which you want to grant, and then there is not enough in the pot of the 10 millions, for example. What would you do in this case?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I would say I think that'd be a good problem to have. First of all, if I would say if the community basically, if we had basically, used up the entire budget during the next 5 months, but overall, I think this is sort of like the idea process, because we also want to make sure that the because tokens are not really like something that the value we expect to change, right? So it's kind of like if we give out all the tokens that we have available, too fast, then kind of like also not really maximizing the value of the ones you will give out later on, because those might be more point in time. So that's really why we have the epoch process, is to kind of like have a fixed target over a certain format distribution, and then reassess and then kind of readjust for the next epoch. So I do think that we I would say the reason we chose million versus 45 and 45 is because we actually foresee getting to 30 million is a challenge. As finding enough developers, like incentivized grants, because this 10 million is not just for a few doors. We expect this to cover a number of grants, lots of different people. So overall, I mean, I would say yes. Could people do more? Absolutely. But I think we also want to make sure that for the second epoch, we in future epochs we have enough. So that's why.
Yeah,
All
complementing what Mike said is that in a sort of way we are still understanding the best way to run this process, right? So that's why on the beginning we start a bit slow, but as everything, all the whole governance process gets clear, and everyone else from the community also gets used to it, we can kind of adjust any numbers. Also, another question, for example, like you mentioned a bigger amount of work for a project, for example. What could happen also is that instead of looking to if there is a dev grant created for that type of project, the community member or you could create a governance proposal as an initiative with what's the amount of budget and explaining what will be the mechanics of that project, that initiative, and put up for governance.
Yeah. Also, this is one final thing. So 30 million tokens. What this represents is 3% overall supply, because of the dynamics of there won't be any more than the initial supply of tokens, and so the reason we did it this way is because we think Hummingbot will be around as a project in 10 years, 20 years, hopefully, 100 years, hopefully. But the idea is that this is the ability to govern the project onto infinity. And so so right now I think like the token is probably trading at a price probably not where it might if future does actually happen. So that's why I think right now we want to make sure we actually leave enough tokens for posterity, so that the people who are contributing, in 2024, 2025, 2026, they have enough tokens to reward them for their effort at time. So, I actually think giving out 3% of the overall supply over the next 5 months, the first 5 months of the foundation, is actually quite a lot. And so that's why I think, I would consider, for every developer looking to look at what the future value might be in the future, if you assume that there will be never any more tokens issued this the current price on a single pool on Uniswap that's created by the community is not exchange wherever other.
Okay. So there are, I think, 2 points that I want to maybe ask. One is, does the Hummingbot DAO intend to own any stables in the treasury at any point in the future, in case of, I don't know, maybe some like a kind of insurance fund if something goes wrong? And what about and if the DAO also intends to increase the available liquidity on the Hummingbot token, so maybe that the price can be a more, I say, reliable one than as we see
Right.
it right now.
Yeah. So the question is, when you say things happening bad, can you explain what you mean? That would
I'm
require
sorry,
an
you're breaking.
insurance fund? Oh yeah. So when you said an insurance fund, like I guess when you say like things happening, what would
Oh yeah,
necessitate
yeah,
the
yeah.
requirement of?
Well, that's something that is mostly for DeFi protocols, I think, a problem. But let's say for some reason there is a bug in the open source code introduced by a pull request proposal which hasn't been detected, or maybe even a malicious actor induced some kind of code which could somehow extract funds by the users of Hummingbot. So in this case, the price of Hummingbot would really take a massive hit probably, and there would be some users that may come with claims to Hummingbot that they want to be reimbursed for their losses somehow. So
Right.
are there
And
plans?
how would that happen? Because it's just open source software, so
Yeah,
people
of
don't.
course,
Right.
right. But
Yeah. Right. So
this
basically,
process,
yes. So what I'm trying to point out is that Hummingbot is not a protocol, right? It's so I think that because it's not a protocol, we're trying to design a foundation for principles here. So I would say, like, just because other DeFi protocols need insurance fund, so essentially I would not look at any protocol when looking at like comparables for on how it should be designed. What I would look at is more other open source networks that are like creating networks between almost like workers and other kind of projects that benefit from in a more coordinated way. So so more of the DAOs out there opposed to like the pure DAOs rather than the so for instance, Index Co-op is probably one example of similar ones that they're kind of using a similar model. Gitcoin is probably another one. So that's why I would put ourselves in that rather than DeFi protocol, if that makes.
yeah, makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah,
I'll take a look.
but also to answer your second question on liquidity, so overall, the main thing the foundation will be doing is expanding partnerships. So since we've launched, there's probably been about 30 to 40 exchanges who have contacted the foundation about arranging partnerships to build connectors and to basically incentivize the use of those. So we anticipate that these liquidity distributions, they by themselves will, should increase liquidity, because it'll be basically essentially it'll be like kind of platforms like Miner and other exchanges that are basically incentivizing people to trade and create liquidity for HBOT pairs. So that's why I would say, because of the nature of while yeah, because so the liquidity distribution is really the governance tokens. But I think it's really an incentive for people to use Hummingbot and coming up tokens on various platforms. And so it's almost like there's by design, Hummingbot
Yeah,
should be a very liquid.
yeah, makes total sense to me. That's good. All right, thanks.
Okay. Hi. Hey guys, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So I have questions about. So it looks like our community has like developed into like a foundation. So my question is about something like the Eagle Club. So do we have any plan to like to because now we have something like distributing the HBOT tokens into some ca- categories here like liquidity distribution, dev, or initiative. So what about like the own Eagle Club members, something like that? Do we have any plan to deal with these like I don't know, maybe like
Yeah,
I don't yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Hey, yeah, go ahead, Paul. Do you want
No,
to answer?
yeah, yeah. I would say Eagle Club is related to the Hummingbot miner, right? So to the foundation. So
Mhm.
that's more a question for Coin Alpha itself. We do have a proposal. The proposal we have about the liquidity mining distribution that's up for voting right now is to that we our proposal is to give this amount of tokens. I think it's 5 million, I guess, if I remember correctly, to Coin Alpha so Coin Alpha can deploy across the many campaigns, right? But the specific about how it will be distributed across the campaigns that exist there on the miner, it will be up to Coin Alpha to decide to define it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, and just adding on to that, the Eagle Club is really for like it's like the minor VIP program, but I would say the lesson we learned from Eagle Club is really that like because those of you who aren't Eagle Club, there's actually a lot of discussions that happen on the channel, on Discord, and it's almost like the people there because it's like a more exclusive community, they tend to work with each other more, help each other, kind of strategies. So I would say that lesson is actually one of the reasons we created the Hummingbot Foundation, and this initiative budget is designed to kind of like create almost like sub DAOs within the foundation that are form of independent teams of people that are earning tokens for doing work. So the and so this is similar to kind of like how other foundations have like similar like smaller DAOs for do different things. So that's where I think if members from Eagle Club, let's say, wanted to get together to do something, maybe it's like researching some, for instance, there's been discussion about the story kind of micro price indicator on the Eagle Club channel. Say if Eagle Club members want to form, a team to go and build something related to that, they can ask for a budget for that team. But the overall idea here is that I think the community, I think, is a really big part of everything that has made Hummingbot where it is today. And we want to essentially create a structured process to incentivize users to form teams to basically organize. We think the best way to really kind of like to support the project, but also leverage everyone's collective intelligence.
Okay. Yes. So it looks like there will be a future plans for Eco Club member, but for now it's still like owned by a coin fund, so it will
Yeah,
not related to like to the foundation, right? Okay.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I say just to make things because Eagle Club is a program from the Hummingbot miner, right? So as I
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, the proposal that we have is to handle these 5 million tokens to Coin Alpha, so they will be distributing inside the miner, and the way they see it would work better for the community. Uh, ab- the thing that Mike was saying is that the idea that we saw on the Eagle Club is that since it is a smaller part of the community, they are a bit more close and they kind of have a lot of discussions and talk going there. So it kind of inspired us to have start to create some proposals to have some similar structure, right? So where some smaller parts of the community would have be owners of some project inside the whole ecosystem. So that's what he was kind of into the
Okay, sounds good to me. Thanks for the answers, guys.
Sure. Okay, so anyone else? Who else have questions? I see no questions on the governance chat.
I have a question.
Okay, go on.
So, do we have plans to integrate more exchanges for the liquidity mining program, such as crypto.com?
Yeah, again, this is also the liquidity mining is on the miner side, which is on the coin alpha side, right? So
Yeah.
anything related to that, you have mostly tried to address into the
Yeah.
coin alpha team.
Yeah. Does anyone from Coin Alpha want to answer
Yeah.
that question?
Yeah, I guess. Hey guys, this is Carlo. There's current plans from other exchanges currently who are higher priority in the queue at the moment, but that we're having ongoing discussions with them. But it's unlikely in the near term, next few months.
Cool, thank you.
Right.
Well, however, everyone, actually, Paulo, do you mind going over to the Commonwealth Forum? I just wanted to maybe just highlight a few of the discussions
Okay.
there.
Good.
Assuming people can actually hear me. I know I have some audio issues right now.
Yeah, we can hear it's just cutting off a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's the on Discord there is a noise suppression option. I think it's
Okay,
probably
got it.
related to that.
Got it,
Okay,
got it.
let me just open the Commonwealth here. Here we go. Okay, there it is. Right. Back to Commonwealth, like we mentioned on the meeting earlier. The idea is that every time there is something that anyone from the community wants to go through a bit more long-term discussion, please try to use Commonwealth, because the thing with Discord, it's great to chat, but it's pretty easy to lose track of any discussions that happen there. So things happen pretty fast. So
Yeah. Yes. So just explain a bit more. The reason we use Commonwealth is because I think now that, especially now that we're much more an open source foundation, truly community owned, having a forum is an important really aspect of every open source project. In the past, we've actually experimented with having a separate discourse forum. This is something that many crypto projects have. But because discourse involves a separate login, every basic person has to create a separate login for it. We believe that Commonwealth is going to be, and basically Web3 native type form that where you log in with the wallet is going to be the future of how discussions happen in the future, because everything's moved to Web3, and given that they have a snapshot integration, I think Commonwealth is a good contender for for kind of like the form software that becomes just something that it becomes a native to crypto, and we've heard really good things about it from our partners at UIDX, who use this for the forum. So I know that right now it's pretty new and people are still used to having conversations, but I really encourage you to come here and just comment or hit like on some of the topics here. This really helps provide just as a soft polling system to see which of the topics we should dive more deeper into, try to form governance proposals around, and try to form research teams to. So there's a lot of votes for the kill switch. I think we'll definitely look at that, and some of the other kind of features here. But I would say overall, the trend definitely seems to be that the community wants easier and more and create strategies and basically to control how Hummingbot is doing it in multiple ways. This is actually something we're actively researching right now, and I would say just allowing people to customize, Hummingbot in various ways, whether it's through strategies or scripts, is definitely a big focal area for the foundation in terms of the roadmap this year. So yeah, overall, I just want to highlight this because I think that obviously it's new, but we think it'll be a big part of how the foundation operates in the future.
Yeah, also, if you look down here, you see there is a snapshot section. So you can see all the 3 snapshots that we have related to each one of them. So we have the governance one, the improvement proposals, and the pull request proposals. So you can just click on it and see which proposal are open. And I think you can even vote from here, right? Yeah, you can
Yes, I
even
think so,
can
yeah.
even vote from
Yeah.
inside
Oh,
here,
yeah.
right? So yeah, that's also one of the reasons that we start using Commonwealth, because we have this integration with the voting process. So right.
Okay. Yeah. So if there's no more questions, we'll just end the call, and
Yeah.
we'll try to do this again next month to show you guys what's happened since.
Yeah. So if anyone have any other questions after this, so feel free to just talk on the chat, call me or call Mike, or ask anything that we try to answer as best as we can, right? And yeah, later we'll post this one on. Yeah, that's it. So thank you all for coming, and have a good week, and stay you all. Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye,
Thanks.
guys. Take care.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank-